3.29 introduced a new jewel called Reclaimed Malevolence, which transforms a random Ascendancy node into an Abyssal variant. One such node limits maximum direct flight to 5 meters. Now, while there are many skills which essentially don't care about this interaction or are negatively affected, for me, there are 3 that came to mind. Eye of Winter, which I previously created the Eye of Winter Arcanist brand return interaction on, Kinetic Blast, which can shotgun enemies really well if you can control the end projectile, and Fireball, which you can obviously see here. In essence, rather than letting Fireball travel until it hits a wall, it will stop at 5 meters from your character. This effectively enables shotgunning with enough area of effect investment. If you want to see some pretty extreme AoE, you can check out what Exiled Angela did with their Saboteur, but my build over here orients around Poison for 2 main reasons. Firstly, I wanted to play with Bino's Kitchen Knife this league because of its insane Poison prolif for clear. This weapon is also incredibly efficient for Fireball due to the spell's terrible base crit chance of 5%. But when you pair this with Sandstorm Visage, the dagger can bring your base crit up to 13%. I also use Spellblade support rather than scaling heavily into gem levels. Now secondly, Poison ignores the penalty from GMP and Greater Volley, both of which are significant more multipliers for this shotgunning Fireball. Infused Toxins granted by the Assassin Ascendancy are then able to let my fire damage from Fireball poison. Originally, I wanted to make a budget version of this build when I bought the jewel a couple of days ago for 10 divines. But while I was making the character on stream, the jewel then spiked about 70 to 100 divines, and now it's sitting at a comfy 50 divs, so I decided to say, you know what, screw it. That said, I think a great budget option after, the exorbitant jewel costs still exists as an assassin. Just doing generic poison scaling with normal poison items, things like Betrayal Sting, Anathema, Ashes as your amulet. Instead, here I've opted to make a Frenzy Affliction stacking Trickster. Now, while it's not the most efficient construction of a character, I still think it's a pretty sick shell to play that's fairly fun too. So I saw each of these rings, the Revelation and the Anathema, each with +1 Frenzy Corruptions, for 5 divs each at the time, and decided just full send the setup, which in essence stacks max Frenzy charges, then pairs Replica Badge of the Brotherhood to also grant maximum Endurance charges for your mitigation. Additionally, Affliction charges are granted by Alessia's Delight, giving 104% more ailment damage while mitigating the frenzy loss with Valkesh's Impatience. It's a setup that I've played before on a Peacock Trickster and love to bring back because of its resilience even against some of the rather potent modifiers like Resistance Pen and Minus Max. Now we can briefly go over the POB, but honestly this character is far from optimized and probably has quite a few things to change before I'm really happy with it. But I hope this gives you some ideas about what you might be playing with the new jewels. So because I can't really show you the jewel in POB since it's not in there yet, this is Reclaimed Malevolence, the jewel itself, and it converts ephemeral bolts over here. Before this node would be one step ahead, and when I put this in, bam, it'll change one of these nodes randomly into one of the Abyss Ascendancy nodes. You can divine this up. I don't know the seeds. It can't import in POB. So yeah, that's that. It'll also convert the pathing on the tree. In my case, I pretty much have useless pathing all the way through. So that's pretty cool. Now, into the path of building. This is my character. I've just not taken this. But Ascendancy-wise, I've chosen Trickster for a slightly better defense than Assassin. I really wanted to figure out recovery on a CI build. Honestly, I'm not super stoked with it. I might still go Assassin at the very end, but I've still in these Infused Toxin Jewels, which, more than doubles my DPS. The tree itself is super, super starved. And man, is it ugly. It looks like a PoE2 tree. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Bam, 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 right? Well, you see, each of these nodes, this Mastery is 17% more damage alone. This is 25% more damage alone. This is also 25% more damage alone. So each of these nodes is absolutely crazy in terms of the value it gives you. It also gives you charge generation on kill, which is very, very powerful. And honestly, you get a +1 frenzy here. It opens up your annoyant. So even though I can't tattoo this because this abyssal jewel that I had here counts as a timeless jewel, I still think it's worth doing if you play a frenzy charge stacking setup. Now, I might be better off going life-based. I don't know still. Kind of struggling with this. Haven't really done all the math and everything yet. And it's a bit of a rush job on a character just because I was really excited to play this thing. But yeah, okay. I want to talk about the sources of Max Frenzy and why they exist or where they're coming from. So Binos itself is kind of cool. This gives me my power charges while I'm mapping really easily. Power charge on crit is a corrupted implicit. Cast speed is too. Honestly, all of these items are pretty much snipes on trade, except for this. Peripetia is just straight up expensive this patch. This is 50 div. It's, I think, the only way you get +1 frenzy max on a shield right now, as far as the implicit goes. It's not corruption, so yeah. Synth bases still exists, but only on synth items. Sandstorm is the helmet over here. I have a just beater chest that I have going on, just complete trash. But that endurance charge generation lets me top up my endurance charges. At the start of bosses, I'll sometimes press Enduring Cry with Red Blade Banner, and that will give me max endurance charges for 30 seconds because it's Swift Killer. But yeah, I really like that combination with this chest implicit on Trickster. Gloves, snipe these are 20 divines or something like that. Was just looking for any gloves with +1 max frenzy. So after I saw this, I'm like, okay, I'm super sending this build, right? Ralakesh, the +1 max endurance doesn't do anything for me. I should probably switch this out. I didn't see a +1 max frenzy. That has to be a vestigial mod, and I'd assume that pushed like a mirror right now. Replica badge, no corruption here. I've actually changed the arcane. Oh no, that is arcane expanse. Yeah, just more AOE. And then these two rings, Chevron's Revelation and Anathema. So why Chevrons? It gives me more energy shield in this case, but it also gives me mana regen, which I found really annoying to deal with. I feel like I'm still not fully sustaining my mana, but the mana cost is so tough right now. It's one of the reasons why Elementalist is very good. It's one of the reasons why I still consider Whispers of Infinity on a lot of characters. But man, for spellcasters, mana sustain sucks. Honestly, just terrible. Pair this with Clarity for a lot of my mana regen. And then in terms of dealing with recovery, I'm Ghost Beaver, I'm CI, and I'm also Ghost Dance. So my recovery is only from Leech, Ghost Dance, and then like that Leech gets overstained by Trickster. Not have the biggest hits, but they're big enough that you can kind of sustain. And eventually I want to be grabbing these nodes to increase the Leech rate, right? And also got the instant Leech. Alright. Finally, Alessia's. This is what gives you another +1 max frenzy charge and gives you more than double damage overall. If you count the +1 and the belt and the infliction charges and Ralakesh, this gives my character 117% more damage. So it's really hard for me to drop this thing. You might think, well, my damage is your dog capped, who cares, right? Well, I mean, against Ubers though, I only have 22 million poison DPS, so it doesn't feel like that much damage. And like, you know, with bottle up, maybe it was 23, but yeah, so I'm struggling. I would love to convert this into a Mage Blood setup, but that's where I'm at right now. It's also cheaper in theory than a Mage Blood because of, you know, like when I buy items for these builds, like I buy them because they're cheap. You know, I'm not trying to like, I don't know, buy expensive items on trade. Why play trade, right? Otherwise, I get my Wither from Overwhelming Malice. I've seen this, you've seen this before, but it finally got fixed this patch for spells. So previously, this node, granting Unholy Might, which lets you apply Wither with your hits, didn't work for spells for some reason. But this patch, they fixed it. It was just straight up a bug that I had no idea about, which sucks. So that's really good. And then for poison chance, these clusters are huge, right? Because I'm not an assassin, I'm a trickster. Relatively low poison duration. Circling Oblivion is a clean 12%. Septic is, well, I mean, it's 20% more poison chance. So, I mean, I need that unless I want to get a bunch of poison tattoos and then get more intelligence. So, really, really great double medium cluster to run. I've mentioned the Forbidden Jewels. And then I have like a burner jewel right now because I'm res cap because my chest is no good. I got like an immutable force for CB, for Sun Immune. I don't even know if I should have this. And then a light of meaning here for a lot of energy shield. It's just good to have in general. Finally, I have a Watcher's Eye. I mean, I'm still trying to think of different ways to the mana recovery. It's really, really awkward. Okay, so I don't love that. Lastly, into the skill setup over here. Fireball is linked with the supports I mentioned and Spellblade. The thing that's really nice about Greater Echo is that it helps in your mana cost a lot. It's kind of like playing Inspiration. My mana cost actually goes down, right? Because one cast equals 3 uses of the skill. Or rather, 1 use equals 3 casts. So that helps out. It does stun lock you, which sucks, but it is a massive, massive damage multiplier anyway, right? 84.5% more damage. So really strong if you can deal with it, but during mapping, I just want to increase AoE. Assassin's Mark as a self-cast curse. This also gives me both affliction charge and power charge generation on bosses, and then shield charge precision. This is just for Watcher's Eye. My curses these days, I'm just gonna become a Bane main. Alright, unless you have curse scaling elsewhere, Arcanist Brand is gonna be worse than Bane because you just press this one time and it will just apply things. It's very, very nice to have. I think that Bane Tricurse Anathema, oof. Hard to get away from the value of this, especially when Anathema can hit +1 charge on the implicit these days. Crazy stuff. Finally, my auras for now, I got Clarity, PoE, and Discipline with an E4. I mean, as high as you can get, right? Because then you can reserve more mana. And then Lightning Aegis is granted by this. Nothing super significant. Anyways, this is the build. I'll try to fix this up into something a bit more playable because these defensive numbers are actually just trash for like endgame. And I would love to adjust this. I might go back to Assassin, play more generic, throw that Mage Blood on, get about like 11, 12,000 ES. But for now, like I'm having quite a bit of fun with this. The real challenge, of course, this league is finding a farm that isn't Valdo's that you really, really need a good character for, that makes it worth it to build that powerful character that's like, well-rounded defensively, got great damage, all that stuff. And I think without that source of inspiration, without that sort of pinnacle endgame farm that's really enjoyable, that's really rewarding, and that involves killing monsters instead of opening boxes, it's gonna be hard to really find the drive to continue on softcore trade for much longer. But we'll see, I got a Cruel Mistress Merc ready to go, and maybe we'll send that soon. Anyways, see you guys soon.